the phone in your pocket, the jet you fly in, even the rockets that took man to the moon. They all share a common, dark origin. We think of the Nazis as barbaric madmen, but what if I told you they were time travelers from the future? When the Allies stormed the secret German labs, they didn't see white flags of surrender. They saw lasers, stealth fighters, and even UFOs. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is a classified file buried for 80 years. Today, we are unlocking the truth of the Nazi doomsday arsenal. Warning, you will never look at modern technology the same way again. April 1945. Berlin is burning. Hitler is trembling in his bunker. The world thinks the war is finally over, but they are wrong. Deep within the secret tunnels of the German mountains, thousands of scientists are assembling final prototypes. What they hold in their hands are not just weapons. They are technologies from the future. If the Allied advance had been delayed by just 6 months, if D-Day had failed, the map of the world might have been completely redrawn. Forget the World War II you learned in history books. Welcome to the Nazi Doomsday Lab. To understand the madness of the Nazi war machine, we have to look at their obsession with gigantism. By 1942, Hitler wasn't just fighting a war. He was fighting reality. He believed that bigger weapons would automatically equal victory. You might know the Tiger tank. It was feared. It was heavy. Then came the Maus tank, a 188-ton beast that sank into the mud every time it moved. But even the Maus was a toy compared to what Edward Groth, a director, the Krupp, Steelworks, proposed to Hitler in June 1942. He laid out the blueprints for the Landkreuzer P1000 Ratte. Let's break down the sheer absurdity of these numbers. This machine was projected to weigh 1,000 tons. To put that into perspective, that is the weight of the Eiffel Tower's entire iron framework, condensed into a single vehicle. It would have been 35 meters long, 14 meters wide, and 11 meters tall. Standing next to it, a human soldier would look like an insect. A standard American Sherman tank would barely reach the top of its tracks. How do you move a 1,000-ton mountain? A normal engine would explode trying to push it. So, the engineers planned to use 8 Daimler-Benz marine diesel engines. These were engines designed for E-boats and U-boat submarines, generating a total of 16,000 horsepower. The noise alone would have been a weapon. Imagine the sound of 8 submarine engines roaring on land. It would be deafening from miles away. And the firepower? The main turret wasn't built for tank warfare. It was a modified naval turret, housing to 280mm cannons. These shells were the size of a grown man. A single hit wouldn't just destroy a house. It would erase a city block. On the back, it carried massive anti-aircraft guns and smaller machine guns, making it a moving fortress. But here is where physics fought back. Imagine the logistics. The Rat would consume hundreds of liters of diesel every single kilometer. Germany was already running out of fuel. And the roads. There wasn't a road in Europe that could support 1,000 tons. The asphalt would crack. The ground would liquefy. And bridges, forget about bridges. The Rat would have to drive through rivers, because every bridge it touched would instantly collapse. Albert Speer, Hitler's Minister of Armaments, was one of the few sane men left. He looked at this project, realized it would bankrupt the steel industry, and cancelled it in 1943. It was a metal dinosaur that died before it was born. But while the land monster failed, the threat in the sky was very, very real. By 1944, the skies over Germany belonged to the Allies. Thousands of B-17 bombers were turning German cities into rubble. The Luftwaffe was desperate. They needed a miracle. Irman Rin, the head of the German Air Force, issued the famous 3X1000R requirement. He wanted a plane that could carry 1,000 kilograms of bombs, fly 1,000 kilometers deep into enemy territory, and reach a speed of 1,000 kilometers per hour. It was an impossible request. No propeller plane could do this, but 2 brothers, Reimar and Walter Horten, Adan Answer, they unveiled the Horten Ho 229. Look at the silhouette. It's haunting. It had no tail fin, no fuselage. It was one giant, smooth wing. This design wasn't just for looks. It was aerodynamic perfection. Less drag meant more speed. Powered by 2 Junkers Zumo Ohu-4 jet engines. It was designed to outrun anything the Allies had. But there was a secret side effect, a secret that would change warfare forever. Reimar Horton built the plane using a mixture of wood and steel tubes. Why wood? Partly to save metal, but also because wood doesn't reflect radar waves like metal does. He even proposed mixing charcoal dust and sawdust into the glue between the wood layers. This was a primitive form of radar-absorbent material. Tests later showed that the Ho-229 would appear on British radar screens only when it was 8 minutes away from the coast. Standard German fighters were detected 19 minutes away. Those 11 minutes were the difference between life and death. If the Ho-229 attacked, the British Spitfires wouldn't even have time to scramble their pilots. Imagine a dogfight in 1945. An American P-51 Mustang pilot looks out his canopy. He sees a Silver Blue zoom past him at 600 miles per hour. No propeller, no tail. Before he can even turn his stick, the enemy is gone. The Ho-229 was armed with 2 30mm cannons. It was a bomber-destroyer. Fortunately for the world, the prototype crashed during a test flight due to an engine failure, and the war ended before mass production could begin. But when the U.S. military found the unfinished frames in a factory, they knew they had found gold. They packed them up and shipped them to America. Decades later, looking at the B-2 Spirit bomber, it's impossible not to see the ghosts of the Horton brothers staring back at us. The tank failed. The jet came too late, but the Nazis had one final frontier, a domain where no human had ever gone. Space. This idea didn't come from a soldier, but from a physicist named Hermann Oberth, the father of modern rocketry. Long before satellites, long before the International Space Station, Oberth dreamed of a space mirror. The Nazis called it the Sonnengewehr, the sun gun. The plan sounds like absolute insanity. They wanted to launch a pre-assembled station into geostationary orbit, 8,200 kilometers above the Earth. The station would be manned by a crew of Nazi astronauts. They would wear magnetic shoes to walk in zero gravity. They would breathe oxygen, produced by vast onboard pumpkin gardens. Yes, you heard that right. Pumpkin gardens and space. But the station wasn't for science. Attached to it would be a concave mirror, made of metallic sodium, spanning 9 square kilometers. We all played with magnifying glasses as kids. You catch the sun, focus the beam into a tiny dot, and burn a leaf. Now, scale that up to planetary size. The operators in the station would tilt the mirror to catch the sun's unblocked rays. They could focus that beam onto any city on the rotating Earth below. Washington, D.C., Moscow, London. It wouldn't be an explosion. It would be a heat ray. Temperatures would spike instantly. Rivers would boil into steam, would spontaneously combust. People would burn in the streets. It was the ultimate psychological weapon. You cannot shoot down a mirror in space. You cannot hide from the sun. The Nazis estimated it would take 50 to 100 years to build. They were dreaming of a 1,000-year Reich. So to them, this was a long-term investment. When American interrogators asked the scientists about it in 1945, they were terrified. Not because it was impossible, but because the math actually worked. It was the first time humanity realized that space could be the next battlefield. Looking back at the Rat, the Stealth Wing, and the Sun Gun, it feels like we are reading a science fiction novel, but these were real projects, funded by a real government, designed to kill real people. The only thing that stopped them was time. The P-1000 Rat was too heavy for 1940s engineering. The Ho-229 engines were too unreliable. The Sun Gun was too ambitious. But here is the uncomfortable truth I want to leave you with. The war ended, but the scientists didn't disappear. Wernher von Braun, the man who built rockets for Hitler, went on to build the Saturn V rocket for NASA. The DNA of the AO-229 lives in the U.S. Air Force. We didn't destroy the Nazi wonder weapons. We adopted them. We refined them, and we built our modern world on top of them. It makes you wonder what secret wonder weapons are being designed right now in classified bunkers that we won't know about for another 50 years. If you want to see a deep dive into Operation Paperclip and how Nazi scientists built the American space program, let me know in the comments. I'm your channel name. If you enjoyed this journey into the dark side of history, Please hit the like button, it helps the algorithm find more history. Fans like us, subscribe for more. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one. The giant tanks have rusted in fields. The stealth fighters are now silent museum exhibits. The sun gun remained a dream forever. History is cruel. It doesn't reward the most advanced weapons. It only rewards the victors. But who really won? Here is the uncomfortable truth. After the war, the US government secretly launched Operation Paperclip. They didn't put these Nazi scientists in prison. They put them in laboratories. The men who designed these death machines went on to build the rockets that took America to the moon. So, in a way, the ghost of this technology never died. It just changed its flag. These insane inventions remind us of one thing. When humanity dedicates all its intelligence to destruction, we can be incredibly brilliant and incredibly terrifying. Which of these three weapons do you think was the most dangerous? The unstoppable tank? The invisible jet? Or the sun mirror? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to know more about how Nazi scientists built NASA, click the video on the screen right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.